what we just heard, I must say that I was very disappointed that President Macron did not take the opportunity to make a strong case for enlargement in the run-up to the Sofia summit and at the summit itself. Instead repeating the old traditional French position of, you know, deepening has to go before widening, which, as we heard before, is really not those are not exclusive or exclusionary processes. They could very well go in parallel. So that was a disappointment for me, and it was especially disappointment because France is one of the problem cases. First, when it comes to opening negotiations with Albania, but secondly also with regards to public opinion, in the sense that, you know, it looks like the French people might have a say in whoever wants to join the European Union next, and that is not an obvious battle to win. That requires leadership. Now, we've seen very impressive leadership on the part of the prime ministers of Greece and Macedonia. I think we probably all agree on that. That was an inspiration. It was an inspiration to see the political change in Macedonia, which incidentally was really brought about not so much by what the EU was doing as by other players, especially the US, and by the citizens who were going out into the street because they had enough of the previous regime. So on the one hand, that's very inspiring, but it's also a little bit of a reality check about what the EU is doing and can be doing. When Mr. Peterle said that he was going to make a very political remark, I expected you to say something about the EPP, of which you're a senior member, because of course both in Greece and in Macedonia we have EPP affiliates who are now mobilizing against the agreement. I do hope that the leadership of the two prime ministers and the reward that the EU member states are going to get to give to Macedonia by by agreeing to open membership talks next week, will sway public opinion. But again, that is not a done deal by any means. And finally, I would like to just mention one thing, which is kind of an obvious point to make, but nobody has really made it that quite in those terms, which is that really across the region, with the exception of Albania and Macedonia, we're seeing very worrying processes of, you know, increasing limits to media freedom, increasing restriction of space for civil society, something that some people call democratic backsliding. So this isn't actually. I look at the region and I'm not so incredibly terribly hopeful that this year really is proving to be a turning point. I finally would like to, and I'll conclude with that, I would like to thank Mr. Weitz for making a few very important points about Bosnia. I think Bosnia is, in many ways, a much harder case even than relations between Kosovo and Serbia, because Kosovo and Serbia, we kind of know what the end point is. The two sides have to get there. I heard this morning RTS was reporting that the dialogue will resume in Brussels next week. I don't know whether that's true, but that would certainly be a good step. With Bosnia, things are just much less clear-cut. We don't know what the end game could be. There seems to be a recognition that some kind of constitutional reform is needed, but nobody really has any bright idea how to get there without reopening that can of worms. And so I think the EU needs to, both the Commission, the EAS, and the Member States need to think very hard about what to do about Bosnia.
All right, thank you very much.